Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Salute everyone. Welcome to the program, MMA Weekly with myself, Jeff Dan, Austin. We are in the building together. Oh man, Shadan, how are you, bro?
I'm great. We had a weekend of awesome events. Awesome. It was fireworks everywhere. History was made in the UFC. And like we say, man, with all these answers we get on Saturday night, it just gives us more questions to ask during the week. So that's what we're here for. But salute to the chat and salute to everyone on the panel. Austin, how you doing, man?
All right, awesome. Now, folks, before we get started, this program is also available in audio form. Please listen to us on our podcast forms and on Anchor FM, Spotify, BeanPod, Reason FM, and BreanSpout.com. All those, you could take this program on the go, and those that are listening in those different platforms, we appreciate you supporting the Bronx Sport Jedi Network and the MMA Weekly program with these two young men. We're ready to break things down, and let's go right to the meat and potatoes. History was made. History was made in the UFC with 4 women fighters winning 50,000 bonuses. I'm going to throw the question. What are your thoughts, Austin, right away with that one?
I mean, they deserved it. That's all. They deserved it. Not too much to add. I mean, the fights, not that much to add, in my opinion.
Okay, Chef Dan?
In my opinion, I feel like this was coming a long time. I've been saying it for a while. Me personally, I felt like the women fighters of recently have been putting on a lot more exciting shows. And I even want to delve into it with the main event that happened over this weekend. But they've been a lot more technical and a lot more, a lot more willing to gamble. So this was definitely a long time coming, and deservedly so. Congratulations to those ladies.
Awesome. With that said, go ahead. Lead us right into the first fight, Austin.
I guess you want to start main event down or just start up?
Main event down.
Okay, fine. Okay. Main event, yeah, women's strawweight battle between 6th-ranked Marina Rodriguez and 4th-ranked Mackenzie Dern. As Marina Rodriguez wins this fight by unanimous decision, 49-46 on all 3 judges' scorecards. And Marina Rodriguez did a very good job fighting. I mean, she survived Mackenzie Dern's takedown, submission attempts, considering Mackenzie, we all know, has one of the best, probably the best submission of the strawweight division, if not of all female MMA in terms of jiu-jitsu. And she was able to, survive that and be able to stuff a lot of Mackenzie's takedowns and was able to, hit her with some shots. There were times where she hit Mackenzie a couple of shots. So I was like, oof. I was kind of worried that Mackenzie might get dropped, but she didn't. Mackenzie showed some heart, some toughness in this fight. But at the end of the day, Marina Rodriguez controlled the fight, and it was her fight, and she gets the victory. Also, me personally, I thought that second round was a 10-8 personally for Mackenzie Dern, but it doesn't matter anyway. She still lost. Because Mackenzie had 2 submission attempts in that round. That's what I meant by surviving Mackenzie's submission attempts. Because in that second round, she was really, going for submission. Marina looked like she was in trouble. But with that, this is a big victory for Marina Rodriguez, being, a girl in the top 5 and puts her one step closer to a title shot. What are your thoughts on this fight, Dan?
I agree with you in some parts. In some parts, I disagree. This wasn't completely Marina Rodriguez's fight. I felt like this was Mackenzie Dern's fight to lose. I said that in the preview, and we even saw that within the first 2 rounds when when Mackenzie decided to stay on the feet with Marina. That first round, it was a 10-9, clearly. We saw that Mackenzie could not land anything really in that first round. I believe the significant strike count for that round was 11-0, and we just saw she didn't have a good idea of where her range was. And we even saw that later on in the round where she started looping her shots and kind of throwing them from the outside instead of going for straight jabs. But that comes with the experience of being, an experienced striker. The second round, I agree with you completely. I felt that was a 10-8 round by Mackenzie Dern. And that's where we saw the difference in the fight. If it stayed on the feet, there was a 10-9 possibility for Marina. But if it went to the ground, it went 10-8 for Mackenzie Dern. So now it was all about Mackenzie Dern's approach on how to get Marina to the ground. Marina had great takedown defense. She had great defense within the clinch, but there were some moments where she was slipping up because Mackenzie was able to put enough pressure. She was able to mix in enough pressure with her striking in order to get it to the ground, in order to get those convincing moments for herself. Marina did end up winning this because fatigue does come into play, and you do start each round standing up. And that was a disadvantage for Mackenzie Dern, is that she had to start each round standing up. And so she had to find a new way to try and take down Marina. And she just, I guess you may have a myriad of ways to get someone down, if you're just going straight for shoots. But with Marina, she was such a skilled striker that Mackenzie had to find a way to mix in pressure, striking, and shooting. And if she didn't have the way to mix in all 3 of those things, because footwork comes into play, little elements like those. But if she didn't have the perfect way to mix in those things, then that's what made it Marina's fight. I don't want to take away credit from Marina because she won the fight through and through because she was the more accurate, more accurate striker, and she had a lot of power. But there were a lot of powerful shots that Marina was letting go that Mackenzie had just enough ability to slip, especially her right hands. I felt like Marina kept letting go of that right hand, and she didn't land it as much as she wanted to. But all in all, a very technical and great fight. Kev, what were your thoughts on the fight?
No, you illustrated it perfectly there. My question, when I had a question for yourself and Austin, if this fight was not a main event that went 5 rounds, you think Mackenzie wins this fight because
No.
of the short?
No,
No, okay,
it's been draw our way if it's 3 rounds.
okay,
I can't say that for sure.
okay, all
Because
right.
if you have a shorter amount of rounds, then you have Mackenzie Dern, who's more willing to, let go of the gas tank and be more aggressive. Her corner, great, excellent corner. This is something else I wanted to add in. Her
Jason
corner,
Perillo?
huh?
No, not her coach, Jason Perillo. You're talking about, right?
Jason Perillo, excellent coach, because he kept pointing it out to Mackenzie. It's like, hey, when you add pressure and she backs up, that gives you your best chance. You just have to know when to pressure. You have to see those moments and capitalize. It's there for you, but you have to capitalize. It was excellent coaching all throughout the fight between him. And I couldn't understand Marina's coaching, so I couldn't say if he was providing it, but Marina did enough to win the fight. So we can only say that things went right on her side. But if it was a 3-round fight, I don't know. I'd say you have a Mackenzie Dern who's more willing to let go of that gas tank early to go into, those grappling situations. And though she was going for submissions, I think at the end of the day, what she really wanted to do, and we saw her make this attempt throughout the 5-round fight, was just pin Marina's arms down with her knees and just go straight for striking.
Right. That I noticed that as well there. You want to anything?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the 5 rounds, 3 rounds. This is Marina Rodriguez's second 5-round fight because her last fight she made a bang against Juarez, and I went to decision, and she won that fight. This was Mackenzie's first 5-round fight for her career basically. So yeah, that's something to point out also. And I think experience played a part in this fight because Marina may have been already a show already just a few months earlier. Just want to throw that out there as well. Just we mentioned 3 rounds.
Okay. With that said, do we want to? I think we concluded that main event. One fight of the night bonus. She won, well deserved. And we go to the co-main event, the welterweight bout. We have featured Randy Brown versus Jared Gooden. In a really good battle there. I was looking forward to that. I got polarized towards Randy Brown. Just something his highlight coming into the fight, and I was watching it, and we all saw the unanimous decision won. 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. All 3 judges by the winner for the contest, Randy Brown. Chef Dan, what's your thought on that fight, that co-main event?
This was very, very interesting. Makes me want to see more of Randy Brown because I don't know, he had every right to lose this fight. And when I say he had every right to lose this fight, like that's a weird way to say it, but looking at the circumstances of the fight, I mean, the first round, he it was either the clean front kick that he landed on Jared Gooden, or it was a kick that maybe where he jammed his toe into the cage. So on one foot, I believe his right foot, he has a jammed toe that's really, hampering him, so he can't really put his weight on his right foot. And then his left leg is getting eaten up by leg kicks. He's just getting eaten up by leg kicks from Jared Gooden. So you have him really the longer fighter who, you see him, because he's so long and he's throwing in the kicks, his, the mixing of the weapons that he provided, but because he was hampered from the waist down as far as movement, he had every right to lose this fight. And Jared Gooden is no slouch. He was a very, very powerful striker, and he was not settling. He had great defense, knew to slip some punches, but overall, Randy Brown, man, he was just a more accurate striker. And it all throughout the rounds, whenever there was a moment where you felt like he was fading a little, he was able to land maybe a 1-2 or land a front kick to Jared Gooden's chest that just changed the complexion right back to his fight. So he always had an ability to control the fight. I'll go right back to it due to the hampering of his waist down. He had every right to lose this fight, but he didn't. And the one thing I feel that he kept him in the fight, that he felt was an insult to him, was that Jared Gooden did not make weight for this fight, and he was very, very, very upset about that. So I think that he would not allow himself to lose to a fighter that didn't discipline themselves enough to make weight for the contracted bout. And I think that's what kept him into the fight, along with the fact that he was just so accurate and so fluid, so good. Someone I really want to see more of as well. What were your thoughts, Kev?
I should throw to Austin on that. Yeah, let's throw to Austin.
You're right. Yeah, every reason to lose. You mentioned the toe injury. I mean, it was like bad. During the fight, you can see he was using his other foot to try to fix his toe in place. And if you watch the fight, it was like you can tell it was bothering the whole fight. But he pushed through. He showed toughness. This was, because he could have easily lost the fight because of it. And you mentioned he was a more accurate striker, despite the whole, toe injury and the whole leg kick in his other leg as well. he showed, he was showing he was a better striker, he used better skills despite being hampered, and he could have lost. Like you say, he had a reason to lose, but he pulled through and was able to win. Yeah, nice decision all 3 rounds too, which is really impressive considering the circumstances of the fight. And it really shows that Randy Brown definitely can. If you question, all fighters are tough, obviously, but his level of toughness, if that makes sense. And Randy Brown showed that he has, high threshold of pain tolerance, and also higher level of toughness than some fighters because of that. Which and think about might still hurts to think about that toe injury. But yeah, shout out to Randy Brown, great victory. And like I say, he's it's probably like a top 20 like welterweight. Like he's near the rankings. One more big victory, he'd probably be ranked if he get depending on who he fights also. But yeah, good victory for Randy Brown.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that there, especially with the toe injury. That showed his level of toughness, and he took his fighting and his, like you said, tolerance of pain to another level. He dislocated his toe on the cage, and he just kept going, and he's still throwing front kicks. He landed that front kick right on Eric's face, and he just kept going. And what me was more surprising was the way the judges saw it. It was a unanimous decision. He didn't even lose, even with the injury, didn't even lose a round. That shows you something there. Like, wow, that's like impressive. I can't wait to see Randy Brown fight more often. Hopefully he heals up pretty quick with the toe, and we could see him maybe January or the earliest. With depending how he recovers and what they have scheduled for him, because I think that's a welterweight we need to keep an eye on. Like you said, he might not be in the top 20 yet, or just
top 15.
Top 15. He might not be on that cusp just yet, maybe, but it's a name to watch going to 2022 now. Going to this new year coming up in an MMA world, let's keep an eye out. Remember that name, Randy Brown. I think, and not for nothing, Jared Gooden, not a bad fighter either. Unfortunately, he didn't make the weight. He wasn't a bad fighting looking fighter out there. These two guys really put on a good show, despite the fact and they both fought good. So even in defeat, Gooden didn't look so bad either. I think if he makes weight, maybe that's who knows what happened when you don't make weight. It could be a lot of things, but if he gets into shape, he might be a welterweight coming down the future. Who if he really takes it really serious. I'm not claiming that he didn't take the fight serious, but another fighter that looks the part, that looks like he could get in there and could be a trouble in the welterweight going forward. So you gotta like the talent in that welterweight in UFC with that. Do you want to introduce the next card?
Yeah, sure. The flyweight division. This was a point fight. It was 2 ranked flyweights. Number 9 flyweight with Tim Elliott against number 11 Matheus Nicolau, and Nicolau wins this fight 29-28. All 3 judges' scorecards. And as he moves up the rankings, between number 9 ranked Tim Elliott in the flyweight division, this was very typical flyweight fight. That makes sense. Not to insult the flyweight division, but speed, technical skill. Elliott was doing well in the first round. He was clearly hitting better shots, but then as the second round went on, he kind of like slowed down somewhat, and Nicolau was able to take advantage and be able to dictate his fights, and then. And did for round 2, round 3, he's able to win his decision. And me and Dan talked about this Thursday last week, how if these guys need to have like a big performance, like if they were gonna put themselves closer to the title contender, because we mentioned there's 4 guys in that flyweight division, like the 4 horsemen or whatever, top 4 guys. The champion reign, obviously, Figueiredo, Pantoja, and Askarov, and now, if you do something big, you can fight one of those other guys, whether it be Askarov or maybe Pantoja, and maybe if they had a big performance here. And even though he won, you credit Nicolau. It was a good performance, but it wasn't like a performance that we're all gonna be talking about. Like, oh my gosh, wow, that everyone's gonna be buzzing about. Don't want to take credit away from him. He won the fight, he did his job, but still, especially in this flyweight division, considering those 4 guys, and then it's like everybody else in that division. But good win for Nicolau. Chef Dan, what are your thoughts on this fight?
This fight didn't do much of anyone favors. It really didn't. But what I want to say is, I want to ask before I want to. You said that this fight didn't do like I agree with you that this fight didn't do anyone favors. Whose fault do you think that is?
I don't. This fight, they both guys.
I'd say it's Tim Elliott's fault. I'm gonna let you know why.
But
I don't know who Tim Elliott wanted to be in this fight.
Wow.
It was like he came out and he was the guy that's punching from all different angles.
Yep.
You know, the guy that's, you know, he wants to be a dynamic striker. There's different ways there's different ways to categorize strikers. And one way to, when you want to call someone a dynamic striker, what they're all about is angles. And what they do sometimes is they'll just, drop the whole side of defense in their striking. So what they'll do is they'll, try and dodge like this. A lot of head movement. And while you're throwing a strike, they're going to try and slip an uppercut, in the miss, somewhere around there. And he wanted to be the dynamic striker. But Mateus Nicolau was able to just do fundamentals. And when Tim Elliott found out that didn't work for him, he wanted to be a grappler. But then Mateus Nicolau said, hey, I can stuff your grappling. So now when that didn't work, Tim Elliott said, hey, let me try and do some conventional striking with you. And Mateus Nicolau said, I can do conventional striking. That's what I've been doing all this fight. So I'm going to do that too. So then Tim Elliott decided, you know what? I'll go back to being the dynamic striker. And that didn't work. He didn't have any way of working for him. And so watching this fight, this wasn't Mateus Nicolau's fault that, this wasn't an exciting fight. It didn't do much for him other than shows that, if someone comes in there throwing different looks at him, as long as he keeps a calm head, he can persevere through a fight. And I guess that's needed in this division because with the speed and athleticism, a fight can turn frantic in this division at any moment. But yeah, that's about it. That's my only criticism of this fight.
You know what? I'm gonna. What you were saying, he was trying to go for home runs, and sometimes you got to keep it simple in the counter game. And if go with a simple counter. If you could get a left hook on a counter, throw the left hook or a right body cross. Don't. He was trying to go for maybe the uppercut, the monster shot to impress, and it didn't work out there. And you said it didn't. It hurt neither one because they'll just fight the next or up and comer, to see if they could try to leapfrog them in rankings. But like you said, I don't think there was no ground game of climbing. But I mean ground game of ranking climbing. They're gonna stay pretty much plateau there, and they'll fight the next. There might be a gatekeeper type of situation, holding the gate for an unranked fighter to try to take their ranking type of deal. That's what I meant. A gatekeeper type of not for the champion so forth, but for that level, unranked fighter that wants to get ranked and beat a ranked fighter. Well, now they fight one of these gentlemen, and if they beat them, then they fall out of ranking because their fights are solid. They're good fighters, but like you said, they didn't move the needle, and unfortunately, we shall see their next bout on that.
Right, exactly. Considering, like I mentioned, Moreno the champion, Figueiredo, Pantoja, and Askarov, like the four guys of that weight class, really. And big performance could possibly got him fight with one, Pantoja or Askarov, but and those are the guys that I think. Let's be honest, most fans are want to see at the flyweight division. For a while, the flyweight division always got labeled a boring division. Although at times I never thought that, but sometimes these fighters shoot themselves in the foot. I gotta be real. And these guys didn't exactly do anything to help themselves. But yeah, we shall see what happens next with these guys. Daniel, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just it's just I don't know if I want to make this statement on behalf of the fans to the fighters. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I'm gonna put this out there. When you get the punch off the counter when you're off balance, that type of shot that comes out of nowhere, it's cool when it happens. It is. We're not always looking for that. as fans, like, if you really want to impress us, if you come into the next fight with just something different that you didn't have the last fight, and it's not something you have to consistently show all throughout the fight, but it's a new look. If you just go, hey, I was working on something brand new, something KO potentially, like it gives you a potential of a KO. It's fine, because truthfully, any and all weapons you throw are a potential KO. So like these, I don't know how like I said with Tim Elliott, he's trying to go off balance and throw a shot. Like if it landed and it changed the complexion, wonderful. But that's not what your fundamentals have been teaching you. The fundamentals got you right here. Stick to what you know. Stick to what got you to the dance and keep dancing. That's it. If your two-step got you to the finals, don't, don't forget, don't abandon the two-step. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't.
No, well said there. Well said point. Well said.
That's true.
So we shall move on from this fight. We shall see these two gentlemen, Nicolas and Elliot, in their future fights to see if what's on the horizon for them. Maybe they'll change something, or maybe the opponent, maybe like I was said, styles make fights, and maybe that style against them was the result of a not too a needle moving fight. But we shall see. We shall see there. We'll move on now to the women's flyweight bout. Maraya Agapova. Am I saying it correct? I hope I'm not saying.
I think so.
Okay, and Sabrina
Yes.
Mazda. We saw that a victory by submission, a real naked choke on the 53 seconds of the third round, just almost buzzer beater type. There was plenty of time left, but it was getting close to that fight there. What's your thoughts on that one? With Maraya Agapova winning that in the third round the way she did it the last second. I mean, she looked like she wore her down. Who wants to take the lead on that one first?
Austin, go ahead. Eat first.
Wait, I don't think it was last second. I think it was 53 seconds.
No, but in the last minute.
I don't think it was into the last minute. I think it was early in the third.
Oh, early in the third, okay.
I think so. The way it said, I think it was early in the third round. I don't think it was late. I think the
Yeah, it was early in the third round.
Yeah, the printout makes kind of confused. The way they recap it on the websites kind of confused us. But yeah, like I was saying, yeah, I mean it was she landed I think I'm trying to remember what she landed. I think it was a left or right, like the side head dropped Sabina, and then she got rear naked choke immediately and just tapped out. Like it was impressive. I mean, it was a good victory for her, impressive victory considering how she did it. You don't usually see guys, guys or ladies, not drop someone and immediately go for submission and get it on correctly and then tap. Usually they try submission, they screw up and stuff like that. Even high-level jiu-jitsu guys can screw up sometimes submissions after dropping someone. But she did it perfectly, got the submission. And I'm trying to remember who she was calling out. She was calling somebody, and her former teammate that she wanted to basically beat up afterwards. I don't remember who, but I do remember that as well.
Yeah, she hit her with the overhead right.
Right.
That was the punch that got her down.
Okay, yeah, that was it. Okay, yeah. Like I said, good job, and good job, Marina Agapova for the victory. She's from I think Kazakhstan. I forget. She was one of the first female fighters from I forget which old Soviet republic it was. I don't remember, but I do remember like them mentioning something like that.
Yeah, she is from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, okay, Kazakhstan. I think it said something like she may be one of the first female fighter from Kazakhstan. I could be wrong on that part, but I would impressive victory for her. Dan, what you thought?
That's what that pressure do, man. That's what that pressure do. It was excellent finish. But we saw it, being set up. Mazo had nothing for her in in that first two rounds, and we saw Agapova. She had plenty of chances to finish it, but she just kept discipline. Kept, hey, I could always, overextend myself with my striking, but no, I'm just gonna keep discipline, keep it where I can keep my range, and just keep with the damage. Keep keep peppering her up. Keep the pepper going, because it's gonna get too hot for her. It's gonna get too hot, and soon enough, she's got to get out the kitchen. And the way she got her out the kitchen, it was a 1-2 man. It was the left hand, then the overhand right, drop Mazo. It was beautiful. As soon as she dropped onto her knees, it was just the slip over. You saw it. She just made sure when she jumped over, the only thing is holding on right now is my left hand and my leg. I want to, just hold on right there as I slip over, get into the rear naked choke, got it clean. It was beautiful. Beautiful technique. And that's some stuff that if you go into a gym, that's some of the day one technique that they teach you there in the MMA gym. It's like, as far as transitioning from striking to choking, like, especially if you get someone down, that's something you want to do. You want to jump on that opportunity as quick as possible. That was technically sound. It was beautiful. And that was why Mazo had to tap. It's when someone executes a technique so clean, usually there's nothing you can do with it. It's not about the power that the person has, this, that, whatever. It's just when someone can execute techniques so clean and get you in a position where it's, it's somewhere where the only way you can defend is you had to have had some form of defense there, or you got to show some type of Herculean strength. And she clearly didn't have the Herculean strength from being peppered up for 3 rounds, and you didn't have the defense set up because you just got knocked down. Only thing you could do is respect game and tap. And so it was a beautiful showing by Agapova.
Yeah, well said there. I want to salute our normal chat members, Robert Parr. Salute to Robert Parr. Salute to Maria. Salute to CT from the streets are buzzing. Nick's TV. Salute to everyone out there in the chat that listens to the program, and always salute and support the Strong Sports Jedi Network. And we appreciate the support. Hit that like and subscribe button, and follow us on the audio podcast platforms. I'll put that there in a minute, so in the ticker, so you guys can follow us and so keep supporting us. In all different platforms. We have Anchor FM, Spotify, Beam, Reason FM, and Buzzsprout.com. Thank you. We appreciate you guys, and hit that like and subscribe, and we'll move on to the next fight. And by the way, she won Fight of the Night bonus as well. One of the 4 ladies that made history that evening in the UFC. All 4 women fighters, 50,000 bonus of the night fight. That bit for those that don't know and listen to the program. Dana White, or every time there's a UFC event, if you overexcel and you excite the crowd, you become fight of the night, you get an extra bonus on top of your purse. Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to reiterate that with that, and we'll move on to the next fight. We've got the bantamweight bout between Chris Gutierrez and Felipe Corrales. Gutierrez won on a split decision. A really good fight there to 28-29, 30-27, 30-27. And a split decision, bantamweight bout. What's your thought on that, Chef Dan?
Exactly as the judges saw it. Neither fighter really, to me, neither fighter showed the ability to kind of take over the fight. Both fighters had their moments, and so that's with a split decision like that, is one of the times where you just can't really disagree with the refs. I mean, I sorry, not with the refs, with the judges. Yeah, Chris got it, but truthfully, neither fighter really separated themselves.
Well said, Austin.
I thought Chris won personally. Yeah, I can see why I made Felipe, but I thought Chris did enough to win. First round, third round, especially Chris was hitting those shots in the end of that third round. But like you said, it was close. It wasn't like any guy distinguished themselves from the judge. From the distinct. Made it their fight. Really impressed the judges to the point where it was clear cut they won. But like I said, I think Chris did enough to win that fight personally. That's just me.
Yeah, so we that was the first card of the main card. Just enough said there. Not too much to elaborate on that. The split decision. Certain rounds could have went certain way. No one really distinguished themselves, and we shall move on. We'll talk a little bit about the preliminary card. Like I always tell everyone that watches us, for all you novice, I could identify myself. I watch the preliminaries to learn about the fights. I like to you. That's where you see that mostly the fight of the night bonuses handed out, spectacular knockouts. Leg kick, submission. These guys are hungry. They're young. Don't get me wrong. All fighters are hungry. All fighters want to perform well. But usually when you go to championship level, kind of balance itself because they're the best of the best. These guys are trying to be the best of the best, and they take their fight to another level. They take more risk, more gambles because they really don't got a lot to lose. They want to get to that platform and they want to climb that mountain, and they take those risks. So I always tell everyone, watch the preliminaries, keep an eye on that before you want to invest in especially if there's a UFC, if there's a pay-per-view, before you shell out your money, watch the preliminary, see if you like the card, see if you like and get into it, and then for free continue watching. Of course, we want you to get involved and like it, but we're just nudging you the right way to become an MMA fan and learn and see why we are enthusiastic and we love this sport and we love covering and talking about it. It's for those reasons because we watch there and we take those baby steps. Like everything in life, everything is step by step in order. And I think if you do that watching the UFC, then you can start getting into it. For those men and women or young folks that don't know about the UFC, don't never liked it before, or it's not just a cup of coffee, try it this way. And maybe you'll see it will work. And if it's still not for you, it's not for you. It's not everything's meant for everybody. So we'll move on there. We'll go to the main event of the preliminary. It was a heavyweight bout. Alexander Romanov, not Natasha's brother, but Alexander Romanov versus Jared Villareta. It was my other son who watched the fight when he came home from work. He won by a TKO. They're just a heavyweight. That's what you're gonna get with heavyweight fights. I think Alexander was just monstrous. He was just in there and wow. He had some good hands, and he just pummeled him, ground and pound to the point where the TKO had to come in and the referee had to put a stop to it. What's your thought? Gonna go with
I didn't watch the prelims. So I had no idea.
All right, that's all
Yeah,
good.
me personally, I was just coming home from work, so I didn't get to watch the prelims live. I only got to recap. I only got to rewatch one of the preliminary fights, and that was the Lupita Godinez versus Sylvana Gomez Juarez fight. So I'll take your word for it on that one.
All right, well we'll jump since we have that. Not much said there with Alexander Romanov. He was just overpowering. It was just great, and we'll go into that fight, that strawweight fight between Lupita and Sylvana. What's your thoughts on that? Since you watched that on that one there.
Lupi Godinez is a little bulldog. That was my impression of that. She's a bulldog. She came in there like went straight for it. 1-2 strike. Let me get right into the clinch. Let me take you down. First of all, let me go shoot. Let me grab you up, lift you up, slam you down. Let's go right into the grappling. That's all I'm about. I'm about grappling, and we're gonna stay there. And Sylvana had her chances. She fought through it. But then it came to a point where Loopy, man, when it man, these grapplers, the women grapplers, they have these funny transition moves where like you see it and then you're like, don't tell me you're about to get this position. Don't tell me you flipped and got it, and then you went and got something else. I didn't even see you were looking for that. But they're like, I don't know, because they're more flexible. They have the ability to attack in certain places that you're just not, if the average person isn't even looking to see. And so when she got to a point where she got Sylvana's back, I'm like, no, don't tell me she's not about to flatten her out and get the choke. And she almost got the rear naked choke. Almost got it, but then Sylvana fought out of it. But then she put herself from a bad position to an even worse position. Put herself, vulnerable for an armbar, and Loopy got it, and you saw it. It's like, got her. Made a tap. It was vicious, vicious. Austin, you take it. If you saw it, you tell me.
I see it.
You didn't see. All right, Kev, you got to tell me
Yeah.
what you saw in that fight.
That was wow. When I saw that, I was like, oh, please don't have no ligament damage on her arm. It was like, wow, cringeworthy. But that's the sport. The fight. That's the sport. And that was like, oh no, and good thing there was no structural damage or ligament damage, just pain. And that's if you're gonna watch that fight, that's what you want to see, just pain, not no damage, no out of place, no bone, no surgery. So that's a good one there, and I won also a fight of the night bonus. So kudos
If
to her.
to our to the listeners watching, if you guys want to know like the difference, the reason why this armbar was vicious is that when she's fighting through the rear naked choke, when Sylvana is fighting through the rear naked choke, she's on, she's essentially has Loopy on her back. And so she goes, she's fighting, she's basically looking up at the sky, she's laying on her back trying to fight it, right? When she gets to the armbar, if our viewers can just imagine this in your head, she's basically knees down, face out onto the, knees down on the ground. She's bent, kind of downward dog position. One hand right here trying to slip her arm out, but the other arm is already caught. So now Loopy is using the floor as a lever to crank back on the joints and the ligaments. So that's why Sylvana instantly tapped. Like, it's one of those, I don't want to, machismo can be shown here, but after I shows my machismo, my machismo, and trying to show that I'm a fighter with grit, 9 times out of 10 I'm walking out of here not holding up my arm. Or even if I do happen to get out of this position, I'm fighting the next 2 rounds one armed, and that puts me at an even worse position. So it was just, smart and conscious of her to know, like, hey, she's got me in a very bad position. I can try and fight out of it, or I can live to fight another day. And that's a beautiful thing with the UFC, is that even when a fighter sometimes has a loss or 2 on their record, it doesn't, the number of losses doesn't determine the fighter. It's how they get back up from the loss. That's what determines a fighter in the UFC.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But that concludes the UFC card. Let me ask you guys: do you want to break down the other card and leave the boxing for later, since you have to go soon?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I might as well.
All right, so we'll break down the Wilder and Fury fight after. We'll go right into, since we're still in the UFC. Let's go to the UFC Cup coming this weekend. We have the UFC 40 event, and give us the rundown, Austin.
Main event Aspen Land versus Norma Dumont in the featherweight division. Aspen is typically a bantamweight, but she missed weight her last fight. If you remember, I think 2 weeks ago she was supposed to fight Macy. Macy. I can never pronounce her last name. Macy Chiasen, but Aspen Land missed weight badly, and the fight got canceled. And and also Holly Holm was supposed to fight Norma Dumont a few weeks ago. No, a few weeks ago she pulled out. I think it was injury reason. So they needed someone to replace Holly Holm, and Aspen steps up going against Norma Dumont in the featherweight division. And also you have the co-main event, Andre Arlovski, UFC legend, going against Carlos Felipe in this card also. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm here 100. What I'm about to say does not represent my dad, Dan, or anybody. It's representing me. Worst UFC card. I'm just gonna say it. Not a great UFC card. Yeah, Aspen Ladd's a good fighter at bantamweight, but not featherweight. Andre Arlovski, who I respect and like, although you have Andre Arlovski, who's a legend, former UFC heavyweight champion back in the day. But this card, to me, I know you can't judge a card by its cover. I know sometimes cards can be good sometimes, but I'm not gonna act like I know these guys are. I'm not gonna act like this is the most stacked card either. It's typically UFC's always been known as putting high level cards throughout the years, and this is not what the UFC typically does. Matter of fact, it's the first card in a long time that no ranked fighter on this card. It's something you don't see ever in the UFC. Although Aspen Ladd in featherweight, maybe she might be better off, fight better at featherweight than bantamweight because she has trouble making weight. But featherweight's a child division. It's not like it's Anna Nunes and some other girls. Let's not forget they were about to cut the featherweight division recently. I don't know if there still are, but it's not exactly a division with depth. Like strawweight is. And I am interested to see how Andre Arlovski, looks, considering, he might retire anytime soon because the guy's been fighting since '99, I believe, 21 years, and he's got like 50 fights at least. I think he has more, but interested to see if Andre Arlovski keep winning, if he keeps winning, or if he retires soon. Because with Arlovski, I will get this could be his last fight. So that is kind of interesting. I will give you that. Also, you do have Jim Miller on this card, who's a legend, who's always put up exciting fights back, always. But it could be Jim Miller's last fight too. Maybe. I'm not saying it is because you never know. Fighters keep going, but Jim Miller's also a veteran who's been around for a long time. So I mean, I guess in that case, if you want to see Jim Miller or Andre Arlovski, two OGs go at it, fights in this card, that's the reason to watch. But for me, I'm not the most excited for this card. I'm just gonna be honest.
Okay, I can agree with you to a certain point. The main event to me isn't, the draw to me. To me, the co-main event is a draw to me because I've seen Carlos Felipe before, and he's a badass at the heavyweight division. The way I see this fight going, that co-main event doesn't end in the judge's hands at all. This goes straight to TKO. Someone's getting knocked out clean in that fight. Either Carlos or Andre is going to do the knocking out. But when Carlos Felipe enters the ring, he's not entering it to try, grab or this, that, whatever. No, he's, he's swinging and banging like them Houston boys, like just going for blood. So that is interesting to me. I just spoke about her and I see her name on the card. So she looks like she's hungry and going for more competition. Lupita Godinez will fight Luana Carolina. So that's gonna be very interesting to me.
Right
You
again.
know, I, hey, when you hungry, you gotta eat.
Yeah, she's the female Hansa Chimaev, basically.
Look, hey, she didn't take damage in this fight, in the last fight. So if she can come back and fight some more, that number one, it does two things. Number one, it keeps her in the public's eye. It lets people know, hey, she's hungry. We just saw her and she wants more. But number two, more importantly, it lets Dana White know she doesn't say no to anything. You call her phone, she's available. If she's available for these type of fights, she's going to be available for championship type fights. This type of hunger is what put Giga Chikadze in the position that he's in right now. A lot of people don't know this, but prior to us knowing Giga Chikadze's name, when the UFC needed I believe they talked about for the Max Holloway Calvin Kattar fight, they needed a backup fighter for that fight. No one volunteered themselves. I believe I don't know if Dana White even put the feelers out there, but Giga decided to drive himself to the event, weight already cut, all that, said, hey, I'm available. Guy said, we didn't even call you. He said, I don't care. I'm here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're.
That type of hunger, that type of dedication, that type of want to, you show it, you're going to get something for it. And deservedly so, man. If she's on this, if the information here is correct and that she's on the card again and she's fighting again, that's a hunger that, you got to reward with something else. Maybe we see, she doesn't finish the year with one more fight, but next year she has a very prominent fight. Let's say she goes and fights someone highly ranked. It does very good for her that she's just showing this hunger. So I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, well said. But my thoughts with the card, it might not be the household names, and there is kind of no buzz to the card. Instead of that's the word. I think to the right word. There's no buzz. You're not buzzed. You're not like it's not a must see. I gotta come home, watch the prelims at 4 o'clock, and can't wait for 7 o'clock for the main card to start. But you never know. These are fighters still. They're still fighters. They're warriors. They're gladiators. Maybe next week we're probably saying the knockout of the year came out of this card. We never know. But is it going to draw a lot of eyeballs? I don't think so. Because it's not like you said the household name. So unfortunately, this card might be watched a lot by UFC viewers on replay. especially if that no, especially if there is the knockout of the year or fight of the year there, and a lot of people are going to be kicking themselves. I didn't watch it, or I didn't. I judge a book by its cover. What do you thought, Dan? Go ahead. I know you wanted to say
I,
something.
I agree with you there, but it also does one more thing, and this is an incentive to every single fighter on the card. It now, like, this is one of the rare opportunities. Like, you have to look at it. You have to look at it in a different way as a fighter on the card. And the way I'd look at it if I was on that card is, this is a rare opportunity. I'm not only fighting my opponent, but this somehow is an open weight class competition. Not for, not for just, winning or whatever, but let's say you do so in a very convincing fashion and you look the best on the card. That may propel you. If you truly are, like, granted, it may not have been the best card or whatever, but if for at least for a couple of weeks, people mention your name as saying you were the best fighter on a card, you were the best fighter on a card, you clearly showed, differences between you and every single fighter on the card, main, prelim, whatever. You could have been a preliminary, and it's like, they made a mistake. You should have been a main eventer. You could have been on the main card, but not a main event. This fight should have been a main event. The main event could have, you have a chance to shape something here. Like, it's a clay right now without any molding. You have a chance to shape it into something. So that would be, my advice to some of the fighters on the card. I can't give them any advice on the punches and kicks, but as far as giving out a dominant showing, you have a chance to make a name for yourself, even on a card is relatively low buzz with this one.
I agree with that. With that, we shall watch that, and due to the fact that fight starts at 7, the main card, this is something that I always respect the world of MMA fighting when they put two shows from two different fighting promotions like Bellator, and we have a Bellator card that evening. They're not gonna contradict each other or fight or make you choose. It's just the main event might come in with a couple of the main card of Bellator or vice versa. They never try to compete for the eyeballs. And we're speaking about that. We got Bellator coming up, and Bellator 268. Austin, let's bring that back there.
This is one of the few times where a Bellator card is just, in my opinion, better than the UFC card. To me, it's better. I'm just gonna be honest. This is one of the few times you can say that, because you have two of the light heavyweight tournament fights going on this card. You have the main event of Vadim Nemkov going against Julius Engelis. Now, he was not the original opponent. It was supposed to be Anthony Rumble Johnson, but Anthony Rumble Johnson had a illness, something medical, where he said he won't be fighting until 2022, which we still don't know what it is. Hopefully he feels better, whatever's going on with Anthony Rumble Johnson, because he's one of the more exciting fighters in MMA.
I agree.
So, yeah, hopefully he recovers. But with that said, Julius Engelis was originally supposed to be he was the alternate for because originally Romero was supposed to be on this tournament, but he couldn't because he couldn't get cleared by the commission. And and then that's where they put I forget the guy's name that Rumble beat. I apologize, because he showed hard in that fight too. But because Julius had fought a couple weeks earlier and wasn't able to make the weight again, but he was the alternative anyway. So now he gets a big shot. He goes from possibly fighting Rumble Johnson in the first round to now fighting the champion, Vadim Nemkov. He has the opportunity to become, Bellator's version of Daniel Cormier. For those of you who don't know, in 2011, Strikeforce had the heavyweight Grand Prix, and it was originally, the second round was supposed to be Bigfoot Silva against Alistair Overeem. But what happened was Overeem got hurt, and Daniel Cormier stepped in, and then he knocked out Bigfoot Silva. Then he beat Josh Barnett in the finals, and Daniel Cormier ended up becoming, it began his legendary career by stepping in and win that Strikeforce heavyweight tournament. Now, this is Julius's opportunity to do that himself. Not only that, but also he goes against Vadim Nemkov, the champion. He has a chance to become the light heavyweight champion also if he beats Nemkov. Easier said and done, because obviously Nemkov, in my opinion, might be the best light heavyweight in the world right now. Even better, Jan Blachowicz. No offense to Jan, but I think Nemkov's better personally. Favorite fight. I favor Nemkov, just me personally. I like Jan Blachowicz, but still, I mean, it's interesting to see how Nemkov deals with the opponent change because it's only 4 weeks out from 4 weeks. It's only been 4 weeks to prepare for Julius, and Julius is a completely different fight than Rumble Johnson. I'm considering Julius tends to, he has, a couple of submissions, 4 submissions, 3 knockouts, 3 decisions. He's not like a power puncher who throws, left head kicks like Rumble does. We got worried about, there are all kinds of punches from Rumble. Let's be honest, fighting him. So I'm interested to see how Nemkov adjusts, also how Julius adjusts too. Like how to deal with the speed of Nemkov because Nemkov is kind of a fast light heavyweight. Kind of like his mentor Fedor was in heavyweights, how he was fast for heavyweights. Nemkov tends to be somewhat fast, especially if you watch that Ryan Bader fight where his speed was really on point against Bader when he beat him for the title. It's a very good, that's the main event there. Also, I feel bad for Nemkov. I want to mention this because Nemkov is Fedor's protege, and next week they're in Russia, the Bellator, and Fedor's on that card, and it's in a stadium show too. So he, think about right. He unfortunately has to fight this week and can't go be on the Russia card, which is a stadium show. Fedor, his mentor's there. A lot of Russian talent there. We'll talk more about that next week, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited for that fight. Any thoughts of that fight?
For me, not really. I like I said, I haven't really paid attention to Bellator a lot. I just recently got back on it because I'm watching the program with you guys. So this is kind of gonna be first time I'm gonna be joining Kev. Just watching it with the unbiased opinion, just kind of watching it to see who impresses me. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that fight with Rumble Johnson was Jose Agosto. Am I correct?
Yeah, Augusto. Yeah, that's who he'd be the first round. Okay, yeah. Julius Angeles was supposed to step in and fight Rumble then, but he couldn't, so Augusto stepped up. But anyway, Gus's got a bigger fight now for the lightweight championship. Although Rumble is the bigger name in terms of, but he doesn't have the championship. That's the thing, though. But also, speaking of lightweight tournaments, we also have the other semifinals. Ryan Bader against Corey Anderson. Now, Ryan Bader's fighting his hometown, Phoenix, Arizona. So this is the hometown coming for. Well, I know he's from Arizona. I don't know if he's from Phoenix necessarily. So it's a hometown coming for him against Corey Anderson. Now, this is a very interesting fight because these are guys who have been top 10 light heavyweights for a while now. In all of MMA, if you think about it, Corey Anderson, with the exception of that loss to Jan Blachowicz, early last year. He's really looked impressive the last 5 or 6 fights. He's starting to come in his own. He's been, winning fights, finishing guys, being comfortable. He looks like a guy who's comfortable fighting MMA now, and he's really showing to. He's put on a lot of impressive victories. His last fight in the first round, he survived getting stung by his opponent. I can't pronounce his last name. And then he took him down, was able to finish him via ground and pound in that 3rd round. And you have Ryan Bader, on the other hand, who is the former light heavyweight champion, who's also the heavyweight champion, who's trying to, he wants to get his belt back and revenge the loss to Nemkov, or at least get the belt back. And Corey Anderson's told a story how back in the day they trained together, and Corey says he got the better of Ryan back in the day when they trained together. But that was a long time ago when that happened, and who knows how. But fighters change from, each year. Who knows what these guys are trained now, how much they've improved, or things they've been aware of. I mean, personally, it's an interesting fight. I do think it's a chance to be a back and forth fight, although I do think Corey might win because I think Corey's a little bit faster, personally, than Bader. Oh, I think Bader, Corey's a wrestler. I think Bader might be the better wrestler of the two. Me personally, if I had to think about it, just watching their fights. I mean, this is a pretty interesting, great fight. Like I said, I'm interested to see who makes the finals of the light heavyweight tournaments. Any thoughts on this fight, guys?
I like you said, it's a tournament style. That's what I like about Bellator too. It's not copy and paste from UFC. There's a little bit of the tournaments, but both bring it different. And I wanted to see that Ryan Bader, he was a former heavyweight champion, and now can he, win this tournament? It's $1 million at the end of the tournament, right? So now you go not only trying to get his heavyweight title back, try to get $1 million. What a way to start the new year, 2022. If he gets to the finals, and let's say he wins that, what a way to start your new year coming up. So, first you got to finish out this fight here, the semifinal fight. It's going to be really interesting. Both fighters were going to be guaranteed either when the one winner of one fight of one round of the tournament wins, and when the other fighter comes out, they're both gonna meet each other in the center or the platform, and they're gonna take their ops. They're gonna meet up and say, "It's me and you, mano a mano, winner versus winner. We're next." So that'd be interesting. I can't wait to see that drama that they build up in Bellator. I kind of that's gonna be interesting. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
This doesn't end via submission, and I don't think it ends via decision. I think this ends via TKO.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I don't see either of these fighters trying to go the distance with each other. That's my only like I don't know who wins it. I could go into certain measurables, but I don't know, because you did say Corey is faster than Ryan, and I believe Corey has a reach advantage, so that helps him as well.
Good point.
I don't have an official prediction, but I just know this ends in TKO.
And Vader is a former heavyweight champion too.
Light
heavyweight champion.
He's the current heavyweight champion.
Current heavyweight, but he's a champ. He knows what it takes to win fight. The only difference is it's going to be a 3-round. It's not.
No, 5 rounds. It's all tournament fights at 5 rounds.
All tournament fights. Okay, I thought they implemented that 5. I thought it was January from last. I'm thinking about last program you guys mentioned and broke down the news that Bellator was going to go 5 rounds with all the main events, but not tournament. I'm glad you corrected me on that, and I appreciate that. And yeah, so 5 rounds against the current champion, but the guy has speed. It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be a good card, and that's why I say kudos to both Bellator and UFC for not overstepping each other's toes. They start one federation with one fight program will start earlier, while the other one eases itself, fades into it. And if you're an MMA fan, you're gonna get fights even though, like you said, there's no buzzworthy in the UFC main 40. But you could, if you're a fight fan, you're gonna watch it. You're gonna like it. And then it's just gonna give you a good afternoon of great fights, especially if you're in the part of your college football team is blown out or they're off or they don't, they played early in the day. You got some stuff to watch. So we appreciate that, and we'll definitely can't wait to break down. Any final thoughts before you head out?
Yes. I want to say I think both semifinals of the tournament have speed versus strength. For Vader and Julia Inglis, it might be the stronger fighters, while Nemkov is Anderson or the more faster fighters in their fights. It seems like that to me. I mean, I don't know. Although I'm not saying Nemkov or Anderson are strong, but I think I could be Vader fighting heavyweight. Maybe he might be stronger because if you fight heavyweight, you tend to have more muscle. I'm kind of surprised he even went down personally, because I thought fighting heavyweight, he went the weight cut might be harder for him, but he's made the weight so far. Good for him. And also I do want to mention on this card, Vance Henderson, the former UFC lightweight champion, going against Brent Primus, the former Bellator lightweight champion. It's good to see Brent Primus finally take another fight in a calendar year. One big criticism of Brent Primus that I've had and people have is that the guy doesn't fight often. He does not fight often. That's always been a big criticism of mine, of his, and a lot of people, and I'm glad he's fighting. Again, he fought in July in the AJ McKee Pitbull card, lost a close fight to Islam Mamadov in that fight. Now he's fighting against Vance Henderson, who, like I said, is the former UFC lightweight champion, who is coming off 2 losses, one to Jason Jackson in welterweight, other was Michael Chandler a year earlier, Chandler's last Bellator fight. And it's interesting to see who's able to emerge, considering Primus usually tends to do better on the ground, and we all know Benson's probably the better striker of the two. Not that Primus got bad striking, but if you had to choose who's better, what skill set, Primus on the ground and pushing submissions, and Benson striking. It's so interesting to see who implements who's able to dictate the fights. It's an old striker versus grappler matchup from back in the day. If you remember those fights. So I do want to mention that as well.
Any other fights we can keep an eye on?
I guess I guess the opening of the main card, Henry Corrales against Vladislav Porochenko, who's Porochenko is 16-2, coming from Russia. 12 submissions, so most of his victories are submissions against Henry Corrales, who's always a dangerous fighter. 11 finishes of his 18 victories. Four submissions, 7 knocked KOs, TKOs. Despite the fact he's lost 3 of his last 4, still someone to watch out for. Although, Porochenko, might be the favorite because of his record and how well he's doing. And let's be honest, a lot of the Russian fighters have done well. It's because, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but there's been a lot of Russian dominance in MMA. Anyone that noticed that? It seems like the Russians are now starting to make their presence known in the sport.
Oh yeah, it's a Russian invasion.
It comes in its waves. That's how I see it.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. But it seems like recently you really see the Russians stand out. Whether it be the Dagestanis or maybe the people like Baylor's camp or Siberia or other parts of Russia. But I get what you mean.
But we also, when I say it comes in its phase, it's like there was a time when the Brazilians came and had their invasion. You can see, it's gonna be a time where we even just had the British invasion earlier. You're gonna have, a Russian invasion at some point. I think Australians are gonna have an invasion pretty soon. It's all gonna happen. Like, it comes in its waves. I think the fighters are there in their regions. They just haven't had the chances yet to break out. But when they do, you'll see more and more fighters out of a distinct area because they usually come together in one gym.
Right, and I think the Australians already, and the Oceanic people, Australia, New Zealand, already had their invasion. Although they're still relevant now. I mean, Whitaker, the whole city kickboxing gym in New Zealand, and Jimmy Crew and guys like that. But yeah, you are right about that. Yeah, it usually is waves. Usually it's different ethnicities, Brazilians, and then early on with the Japanese, and then American Canadians when George St. Pierre was running, Roy McDonough, and now we get the
Dude,
Brits.
when Francis Ngannou won the title, everyone felt like it was an African invasion on the belts. Like, everyone has their own invasion. It comes in its waves. That's how I feel. It's just usually like there's a bunch of, it's like, how do I say it? It was roughly like anywhere from 10 to 15 fights on a card. That means you're gonna have 15 winners. If roughly just I don't know, 1/5 of them happen to be from the same place, it becomes an invasion. Like, it's the people look for commonalities like that. It happens. So I wouldn't give it too much of a thought. I'd say that Russia is producing a lot of amazing fighters, but there's gonna be a point where the playing field levels out. Because it's not going to be more so like, hey, they're just so genetically dominant or anything. I think they're just bringing a different skill set that people haven't seen. But soon enough, it gets figured out, and then another skill set will be shown where it feels like, hey, these guys are invading. It comes and goes. Especially when you notice that, a lot of the moves that, a lot of the skill sets or moves that are attached to them are not really moves that are brand new. It's just people are applying old moves in different scenarios.
Right. Different tendencies and techniques. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Definitely with that. But, before we go on to the fights, the boxing fight, Austin has to drop off for a minute. He's got to get duty calls for Austin. Austin, give us the final thoughts before we exit the program.
Oh yeah, we can do brief. My thoughts on the Wilder Fury, just brief. Great heavyweight boxing fight. Heavyweight division runs boxing, and great all-time great heavyweight boxing fight. The 5 knockdowns, 3 from Fury, 2 from Wilder, especially in that 4th round. Crazy round. Fury's chin is unbelievable. We can say that. Those guys are shout out to Tyson Fury. Just find the odds again. Survived those 2 knockdowns in that round. Wilder showed heart and guts, and actually, came through, fought it in, fought the war fighter, and great fight. And thank you guys for watching the show, listening to us on audio platform. Appreciate you guys, all you fans, everybody who watches us. So thank you guys, and I'll see you. And I'm out.
All right, we got Dan there. So we'll appreciate Austin has to step out for a moment. He's got to get ready for work. So we'll bring him up there. We'll bring that there. And we'll break down the fight. Rox Jedi Network here. Thank you for everybody watching us, listening to us on the platforms here on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now in audio platforms in Anchor FM, Spotify, Beanpod, Reason FM, and Greenspot. And let's get right to it, man. Saturday night, we had the watch along here, myself with Chef Dan, Austin in the background. It was fight night, baby. Fight night, fight night. The trilogy between Wilder, Fury. Oh, baby. What was that all about? If you guys could watch the replay of the watch along and see our raw reactions to it, if you have an opportunity, for those that are watching us with video, not the audio part, you got to take a minute to see the raw emotion from all of us there. Let's break down the which way you want to go. I would like to talk about the undercard. The undercard, the first three fights on the pay per view. The undercard, you had Adam Kowanowski versus Robert Helenis. You want to go with that because we had a lot to say about that fight as well while we were watching that fight. It was really good, Chef Dan. What you?
Oh, I wanted to first attack the Jared Anderson versus Vladimir Turskin.
Oh yeah, we
Wanted
can
to
do
go
that.
upwards from there. Yeah.
That was actually the first fight. You're right. You're right.
Jared Anderson versus Vladimir Turskin. Jared Anderson was very, very impressive. Got the second round TKO. He was so like Vladimir really came in the fight and he had belief in his power and he had belief that he could end it all in one shot. And so with the one shot, he kind of said, you know what, if I can, let go of my defense enough to bait him in, then I can get that one shot off. But Jared Anderson he was so good. Like he knew about especially when you're fighting a fighter that has great power, you gotta first take advantage of range. First take advantage of making them try and overextend themselves. See if they feel like, they can, if they have to, overwork and just get the power shot off at a range that they didn't feel before. Because the more you throw it out of your range, the more tired you get, the more you leave yourself susceptible to counters. And that's what Jared Anderson understood. And so he just used the range correctly, used his footwork correctly, danced around Vladimir, and whenever he could, just landed, pop, 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 just peppered him up. When he got to the second round and he started like getting more confident, like, hey, I can touch you and not get touched. I can touch you and not get touched. He goes, you know what? He got him in the corner. So let me give him something. And then Kev, you take it from here, man. You take it from right there in that corner, right there what he did to him.
He just 3KO'd him, knocked him out. I mean, just standing on a standing knockout. To be honest with you, it was a standing knockout. Referee, one of the rare standing knockouts. The referee just had to stop. It was just too much onslaught. He didn't go down. I give that Turskin credit. He didn't go down, but he was taking unnecessary punches in that corner. Good job on Kenny Bayless for stopping the fight. And like he did, a good experienced referee that he was. He jumped in and he saw a TKO. He saw a fighter that was a standing knockout, knocked out while standing up. And phenomenal. And all these cards before the Tyson Wilder Fury were all featured heavyweights. Besides the prelims, which I didn't watch it, so I didn't get to see the results. So I apologize for not giving you the full results. But if we didn't watch it, didn't see it, watching the UFC and preparing for a watch along, we're not going to speak about it because it wouldn't be fair to give you our true essence. We're not a copy and paste program. We give you our point of view and trying to be as factual as possible, but it's our point of view when we want to give it to you guys. So hopefully you guys will respect that and go forward with that, because we could just pretend that we saw it, but we know we're not like that. Then you know what, we just might as well just shut off and not be real and just don't even bother doing this. So we want to give you our point of view and our thoughts from the truth. And that fight, that's why I said Kenny Bayless was phenomenal stopping that fight as a referee. And you really don't hear. You hear the referee always in the negative part of boxing, or he didn't see a knockdown or he did terrible. no, we have to also give the good and the bad, and we got to give the roses to the referee for stopping that and not allowing Vladimir to get unnecessary punches or damages going forward. It's been too many injuries or too many deaths in the ring, not just in boxing, but also in bare knuckle fighting as well. Rest in peace, and in all combat sports. So I'm glad that's why the points of the referee, and you have to give kudos to the Tenny Bayless for stopping that TKO fight. And man, what a good fight! Just to open up the card, it was very exciting. It was very good. And that's what you're expecting from heavyweight. You're expecting knockouts. You're expecting fireworks. The big heavy hand. One punch could turn the fight in 360. And we go on to the next fight that I mentioned a little earlier. Robert Elias defeats Adam Koneski.
Kovnacki.
Kownacki from Brooklyn. He's also, a Polish descent, but from Brooklyn, New York. Adam went in there. What's your thoughts? I know what your thoughts are, but what's your thoughts of Robert? I know Robert left you a real impression. Let the audience know how we spoke about it, but I definitely would like to hear you reiterate that impression you received.
I was very impressed, but as a fight fan, you kind of want to see more, and so with more, you kind of have certain critiques. Robert Helenius was a very, very smart fighter. This fight, I believe it went 6 rounds.
Yes.
It went 6 of the 12 rounds, but the entire 6 rounds, it was Robert Helenius' fight completely, and he controlled every aspect of it. I'm going to start off from the first round where he decided to blitz Adam Kownacki. Like, just really blitz him and land certain shots that Adam was just not ready for. And I believe for Helenius, it was the right hand that kept peppering up Kownacki because his left eye got swollen really badly. And that right hand, he just kept touching it. Just whenever the left hand really couldn't do much for him, but whenever he had something to fall, he needed something to fall back on. He just threw the right hand, and it just landed and hit Adam every time. The way he went about it was, first round, I'll blitz you. I'll hit you with something I know I can hit you with, and then I'll keep the momentum there. Then from round 2 on, he decided, I'll back away. I'll just back away and let you come forward. And from then on, I'll counter punch you. Whenever you come in, I'll just have the fist right there so you're running into it. I don't have to waste that much energy. And so that was what he proceeded to do. I was critical of Adam Kownacki's corner because what I didn't want was that around a certain round, it felt like Adam didn't have anything for Robert. And so this is a moment where you just have to throw in the towel. But they decided not to. And so with Adam's vision compromised, he's throwing punches in certain places where he feels like he may land, but he lands in the wrong spot. He kept landing the low blow, and then they disqualified him for the low blow. But in my opinion, I felt like that was a corner's mismanagement completely. I felt like when they saw his eye was swollen shut, when you have the doctor continuously looking at him and starting to ask these questions, things of that nature, and you see your fighter has no response. He doesn't even have a way to, make you believe like there's a way to get out of the round. You were supposed to throw in the towel. Let him be angry at you and all that, but you were supposed to throw in the towel. And that was corner mismanagement there. Kev, what were your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, the corner mismanagement was perfect. I think it went 1 round too many before the referee actually stopped it for the low blow. That's the third low blow of the fight. And like you said, where Robert Helenius came out there and just this is what I was talking about, and we'll break that down with the main event. One of the keys to the victory was your jab, snapping the jab and getting the eye contusion immediately on your opponent. Once you have the eye contusion, you just keep working and just snapping punches, even if you're just putting glove on the eye, or even if you're not landing with power, but just putting the glove and irritate and let the leather burn on the skin, and that's what's going to cause that welt, and that's going to open up. And Adam fought hard though. Adam really fought hard after the eye contusion around the second, third round. He woke up, he tried to charge, and like you said, Robert was counterpunching, and he's like, "Oh, you're bull rushing, but you know what? You can really not see me that well. Well, I'm gonna." And he was just like you said, just sticking his glove out to the eye on a counter, and that all just kept doing was swelling and puffing up the eye more and more and more. And the corners should have seen that. Although Adam has some, he has power. He had a knockout ability. He had 13 knockouts coming into that fight. And he has, and he had more than a puncher's chance because he really knocked his opponents out. I think this corner got misled with that and said, you know what? Well, my guy needs just one good solid punch to give it to Helenas, and he's going to put him to sleep. And they were banking on that. But I think after the fifth, when they sat to that conclusion of the fifth round, the corner should have said, you know what? We'll fight another day, kid. Your eye is bad. We don't need you to take a necessary punch to the head, concussion, and PTS and all that other good stuff just to protect you. We're gonna throw in the towel here. You know what? Let's call it. Let's get your eye fixed. Let's get ready. We'll go back to the drawing board. You got a lot of knockout talent. And we'll work on it. But they didn't, and the referee stopped it on that the third and final low blow. And at that time, it's like you said, provisional vision, couldn't see well. Thought he was hitting in the midsection, but his eye, he was hitting. It was blatant low blows. It wasn't intentional. It was accidental, but the eye, because of his vision impairment. So good call there, the referee, to stop that fight. Good fight for Helenas. He really put on open up a little eyes here. He would have liked to gotten the knockout completely, even though it comes down as a TKO, but it really was because of the referee low blow. But he did do enough damage to warrant that TKO by just closing the guy's left eye completely. And that's what you got to do in boxing. Smart tactics. That was a smart veteran fight, if you ask me. Once you see the eye contusion, and that's why I was calling that as one of the keys to the fights later in the main event. And we'll break that down. But before the main event, we had the co-main event sandwich in between there, and it was Frank Sanchez versus Ife Agubaya.
Nah, F.A. Ajagba.
Ajagba. See, I pronounce it, guys. You tell me you put a Ramirez, a Torres, a Gutierrez, I could throw that, but I apologize for that.
It's cool. It's all good.
So, so I got Chef Dan cracking up here, and the chat cracking up. So what's your thoughts on that one, man? You know what? I'm gonna go first on this one with the Frank.
Yeah,
Sanchez.
go ahead.
Frank Sanchez was so much quicker countering, and his hand speed, and he was really good. But Afi really fought a good fight despite losing. Either way, it gave them. He got in 11 rounds in. He got in some rounds, and he got in all 12 rounds in, and he got work fighting. And it was just it's a learning experience for Ife going forward, and if he wants to be in the heavyweight division, knowing how to cut the ring off. And it's good that he fought a faster fighter in this one. So when he fights, so he knows what speed and techniques he needs to work on. So when he fights the heavier heavyweights in the division, it's gonna be I could cut the ring off quicker. I learned from my mistake for Sanchez. In despite of a loss, it's a teaching moment that's gonna benefit Ife going forward, in my opinion, because he's gonna now, I know how to cut the ring off. I fought a quicker fighter, an agile fighter who ran. Frank Sanchez, although he's a heavyweight, really fought like a cruiserweight, light heavyweight move. The way he moved around there with his hand speed, counter, and moving from side to side, and like wow. And I think that's the teaching moment for Efe going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Efe next fight comes out and just wins. I don't know. I didn't get to see what kind of knockout power Efe has. We shall see in the next fight. But with that, it's a teaching moment how to cut the ring. And I think that with that said, I think well deserved. Well deserved win for Frank Sanchez. He did so much more. He countered, he punched, he got in. Everything that he wanted to accomplish was there for him. Combinations in and out. Wasn't really tattooed, wasn't hit that hard. Good defense, but all in all, it was a good fight, despite the fact it was a unanimous decision. and he dominated some fights, but it was a good fight all in all. Dan, what's your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with you 100%. This is a learning moment for F.A. Ajagba because you went in there with a champion. I don't know if this fight was scheduled for what it was or if someone stepped in last moment. I have to look into that. No, this fight was scheduled for what it was. So this was a completely learning moment for F.A. Ajagba because you man, this is all about defense, footwork, and pace.
Yes.
All three of these things made the fight for his opponent. And when I say defense, footwork, and pace, Frank Sanchez was able, as far as pace, weaponizing pace, he was quicker than FA, so he knew when to slow it down, when to speed it up. That already confuses him, right?
Right.
Footwork, vastly better footwork than FA, to a point where FA just kept chasing him. It to some people it might look like a walk down, but if you're smart enough and you're watching the way the punches are thrown, he's chasing him, throwing at air, missing. And then defense. You can't get so frustrated when you're but man, all right. You can't get so frustrated when you're missing that you decide to gamble everything. And within gambling, you decide to, abandon defense and you leave yourself susceptible to things. But FA walked into the matchup with that mindset. He kind of wasn't about defense. It was more so, I'm more confident in my power so I can land it. The issue with these power fighters is they have to learn. You're going to get frustrated. You have to know yourself to know. If you know you have that power and you're not landing, you're going to get frustrated. So what you should do is be learning how to set up. It's set up, set up, set up, set up, set up. So now you got to go to defense, footwork, pacing. Your footwork cannot be linear. You have to be side walking to cut off the ring, exactly like you said. FA has to learn how to cut off the ring. With pace, he has to learn to weaponize pace now. You're walking around like a slow, lumbering heavyweight, but you have a really quick jab. You have a really quick, even your power shots are really quick. Learn to weaponize the pace. If your punches are that fast, learn when to slow it down, when to speed it up. You can throw someone off kilter. But then third and most importantly is defense. If you're not taking shots, it leaves you fresher to throw out more shots. And these are the three things he has to learn. And so when he watches that tape, if he doesn't take those three things away, his next fight may end up differently. But if he does and takes those three things in a right combination to where you're not looking to master them, you're just looking to get a good enough understanding so you can combine those three enough to that your next fight you look like a different fighter. It's all the more better for him. And
Right,
so
right.
that's what he had to take away. This is a completely learning experience. He got out schooled completely.
Right, right. And with that said, when you also, what he should corner should have also, if you got a fighter who's agile, who's moving quick, and is moving with quick pace, and he's going into the fight, he's quicker. It's okay when you to clinch, and when you clinch, you got to hit the hips, punch those hips, those side of hips, the legs, so you don't. So the fighter that has an advantage on you with speed and quicker footwork, if you're hitting and you're making his legs heavier by pounding him on a clinch, or when and you're allowed to sneak in those punches to the legs and to the hip area, that's going to benefit you down the road. Those are tactics within the tactics of a fighter that they learn. That comes with experience. That comes with experience being in the fight in the fighting game, and so forth, with more fights under his belt, and maybe a corner shake up, or let's hope the corner goes to the move to videotape, watches it, and picked up on those tactics. So I forgot to really make an emphasis on who was his corner, to see who going forward. But I will definitely keep an eye on him, even in defeat. Even in defeat, to keep an eye on him and see if he makes any changes with his corner. He gets with just think of him get with a Freddie Roach. Oof, that's gonna
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yes,
and
because
that,
I
yeah,
I agree with you there completely because he it seemed like he didn't know of any other way to win the fight. And we like it's especially like if you're watching, I don't know how else to say it, man. You're the co-main event to the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. Like Tyson Fury showed you there's multiple ways to win a fight. And so you're right there. Dirty boxing. Resort to dirty boxing. The punches and the clinches and all the things. But this is a question I wanted to ask you, to retort that.
Okay.
Is that what we I want to make a note of this is that all the referees, and you made a note of this during the night, majority of the referees throughout the event, they were not trying to watch a clinch and dirty boxing matchup. Whenever they saw clinching, they jumped right in there. Hey, break it up, break it up. And so now when you have a referee who's not really letting the clinch stay, like that, would you have still gone for that tactic?
Well, all referees in all fights they don't really allow the clinching. I know what you mean, but they were going to emphasize of separation. You still do it because that's not illegal. Still, that's still legal, or until the referee gives you a warning. You got to keep pushing the boundaries of it. And if the referee warns you, even a second warning, then you stop. But you have to with time learn how to hit those hips, and those clinches. And that's why I wanted to bring that up with the clinching part with the heavyweight fight. So all in all, before we go into the main event, excuse me, they were all heavyweight fights, but into the main event. But all in all, we should see where Frank Sanchez go from here after that victory, and what Ife goes from here after his defeat. I think I was impressed with Ife. Sanchez was okay, was good, but I don't know if he has sustainability to stay in the heavyweight division. Maybe he might have to go down to cruiserweight and dominate cruiserweight because I don't think he has the power to dominate as a heavyweight fighter. But we could be wrong. We've seen guys that with less power and just great boxing actually win, dominating in the heavyweights. Down the Holyfield was one, phenomenal fighter, that won titles. Not that much. He had heavyweight power, the knockout power, but he was more known as a boxer of a heavyweight division, who could outbox you and with speed and combination like that. So we shall see that. Before we move on to the main event, the heavyweight, what's your thoughts on that one with Frank Sanchez? What do you think he goes from there? What do you see there, and what's your thoughts on both fighters?
Like you said, it's gonna be interesting for Frank. He's just gonna heal up and defend the title again. He has that title, so he's just gonna heal up. I believe it's the Continental America's heavyweight title. So yeah, he's just gonna heal up. With boxers, the layoff is lengthy.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll probably it's November, well, it's October right now. We probably won't see Frank for another year or so. So it is what it is.
Or maybe we might get him by June. The summer fights that comes up in June, or I don't think May. Although maybe May, if depending how the Continental division heavyweight mandatories, maybe because it is in the WBO or WBC or IBF type of fight title. They might have a mandate where he has to fight every 4 months or 6 months, to defend that title. We don't know on that. We shall see on that one. And yeah, so we see where we go from there. And then of course, everyone, the main event, the big spectacular of the big card, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, the third fight of the trilogy. The first fight ended as a draw. The second fight, Tyson Fury TKO Wilder, and wow, what a good fight. It took you back to, it was like a time machine to the '70s fight. I'm not saying it's in that level of Ali Frazier, Foreman Frazier. It's not. I'm not saying it's that level, but there was knocked outs. There were guys being knocked down. Both fighters got knocked down. Tyson Fury was inches away of getting TKO'd, in my opinion. Himself with that 10. He even got a 10-7 round. Fury did. I mean, Wilder got a 10-7 round in that. And all in all, what a great fight! What a main event they put on the show. Chef Dan, where you want to break it there? First, before we even let you go in there, all night through the watch along, I'll make this real brief. I was saying, with the very first fight with it was all heavyweight card, and I said, I thought about it, and I came to my sense, and I said, let's keep an eye on the referees, the emphasis of the referees with the clinching, because a lot of times, the main iterate, the reason why I brought that up was uh, Tyson Fury was supposed to be coming in at 290 to 280 pounds of weight, and Wilder's usually fights around 230, and it was going to be almost close to a 60-pound disparity, and because Fury wanted purposely to use his weight to tire Wilder's legs in the clinch, leaning his body weight on him, so and it made him and wear him down. So I figured the referees were going to be emphasizing a quick break as soon as they clinch right away, jumping in there and separating. And I kept saying that all through the broadcast all night. Keep an eye on the referees in different fights and so forth. And that's why we brought that point up to the main card here. We Wilder and Fury, and Fury came in at 277 pounds, and Wilder 238. So it was like a close to a 30-pound difference there, not the 60-pound disparity that was being rumored. But all in all, Chef Dan, now I'll let you go on this. Thank you for letting me elaborate this a little bit longer on what your
No,
thoughts.
those details were definitely needed. This was an exciting fight through and through. Very exciting, very action packed. We saw both fighters score multiple knockdowns. Tyson Fury ended up winning the fight via TKO in, I believe, which round was it? The
11th round.
11th round. So it almost went the full distance. And Deontay Wilder showed the heart of a champion through and through. After Tyson Fury got that first knockdown, things were starting to look bleak for Wilder. We didn't know, it was looking like, Tyson Fury was going to take over the fight through and through. But then Wilder, like he said, man, he only has to be perfect for about 2 minutes. And in that round, we saw him have that ability. You said it, man. If the clock, I don't know, man, if the clock just stopped and let the referee count, and then after the referee finishes the count, you let the clock presume from where the referee stops, Deontay may have had a chance to finish it in that round right there. Like, he had the chance, but time was taken from him, and then he had to start fresh from a new round. Tyson Fury showed excellent. He showed an excellent chin, excellent strategy. He was, a better boxer through and through as far as the technique and whatnot. Deontay Wilder had power. Tyson Fury, to me, man, it wasn't that he had surprising power, but he has the mantra of punches and bunches. And so
Right.
when one hits, he's going to throw 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So what I think for me, it wasn't more so like the power that, surprised me about Tyson Fury was that the volume that he was able to land. And you saw the disparity in the volume all throughout the night as, Tyson Fury's numbers started to climb up more and more. But it wasn't for a lack of, a damage or anything, because whenever Deontay landed, he did have some damage. Man, do I have any revisions on the fight? If there's anything I would have wished Deontay would have done more, because Russ was on the watch with us as well, and he made this mention was that Deontay Wilder does not look good backing up, and he doesn't. And the only thing I would have wished for was that if he, instead of backing up, and I know boxers are known for doing this, you can use the shoulder as a weapon, not to, just throw it at the person, but instead of backing up, I wanted him to go into the shell. You lower your stance a little and you throw that shoulder when Tyson Fury decides to come forward. You shove him off, gain some distance, and then you can use your range, because of his long arms, he has to fight at a longer range. And we even noticed that when Tyson Fury decided to go in for the clinch and that the referees came in to separate it, as soon as the referees separated the clinch, Deontay Wilder threw the 1-2 because that was the range he was comfortable at. So the only thing I could say was, if there was a way that he knew to create his own range, that would have maybe changed the complexion of the fight. But through and through, all in all, very impressive fight. What was your breakdown, Kev?
Yeah, with what you said about that, the clinching and with the shoulder, he didn't, and I mentioned that from the very beginning. If you know me for either breaking down the MMA programs or my boxing takes, I'm always a big proponent. Always, your biggest success, especially a guy like Deontay Wilder and any, is your jab. If you could jab, 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 you could call me instead of broad Jedi, you call me Jab Kevin, or Jab Jedi, because I'm a big proponent of the jab. And I mentioned that with the first fight, with the Adam fight, Adam Konaki and the Robert Helenius, with the eye contusion. Wilder needs to set up and set up the jab, start the jab, and try to get a welt under Fury's eye somewhere, some forth. And then when he wants to clinch, just bring hey, that's part of boxing. That those are tactics that and it might not be. It might say it might be dirty or whatever. That's part of the fight. If he goes for a clinch and he has a welt in his eye, just stick your head, your top of your head right on that welt for the eye and keep pumping it
Woo,
out.
yeah, hey, because I was saying this, man. I wanted to look. I It may sound like we're caping for Wilder, but like I said, man, Tyson Fury, when he throws a lot of those punches, the referee can't stop it if a lot of them land on the ear. And we see Deontay Wilder is leaving the ring. This is all three times he's left the ring with Tyson Fury. His ears are bleeding.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dan, because
And
I was
those
gonna.
are
Yeah,
those are rabbit punches, and those punches disorientate a person. And
correct.
so now we see it like Deontay Wilder looks different from any other fighter that lands punches on him, even on the head area, things of that nature. When he fights Tyson Fury, he looks disorientated, his jaw hangs, things of that nature. Like if he wants to fight, throwing those rabbit punches, the referee can't stop you if he decides to come in for a clinch. Like you say, you close up. You don't throw the shoulder of the head, but make sure it's there when he meets you.
Right. That's the tactics. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Tyson Fury wasn't the powerful puncher as Wilder, but he knew where to land those punches. All his knockdown was right in the ear lobe of Wild. That disorients you. You try to get you lose your balance, you lose your equilibrium when you get punched. Even if you do a clap to your ears, you know that disorients you. You hear the buzzing, the bzzz, and you hear, you lose focus. It's near the brain and all that loud noise. The eardrum is palpitating. He starts bleeding through his eardrum, and when he was landing the punches right in the right area to knock down Wilder and TKO'd him, because it wasn't the power. It was, like you said, high volume, but where he was hitting the high volume, right in the earlobe, and he was bleeding through his ear, at the end of the fight and during the fight and so forth. And that's how, busted eardrum. That's not fun. You're hearing that, pum 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 pum. It sounds like a heartbeat right in your ear, and it's gonna drive your head nuts. Go ahead, Dan. I know you have to say
No,
something.
I want to look. It's just kudos to because you said it. This is, and we respect someone. This is someone I want to mention, not to just change sports, but just to liken it, gain a similarity. Why do we like Kevin Holland so much? What's one of the reasons that we like Kevin Holland is when he's in there striking, especially let's say he gets grappled. What's one of the first things he does? He takes
Slap
his
the ear.
open hand and starts slapping the opponent's ear,
Yeah.
just slapping it. There's two reasons why he's doing that. It's like one, to just keep damage, damage, but number two, when he's cupping his hand like that, he has a pocket of air here, and so he's forcing that pocket of air into someone's eardrum. He's potentially disrupting their equilibrium. So now when they get right back to striking with him, they're not all the way on their P's and Q's. Like what they might feel like, and what, if you guys hopefully watched the Chrissy Martin documentary on Netflix, she even said it when she was disorientated at one point. She felt like she was throwing punches like on sideways, because when you get so disorientated, like your equilibrium is off. And so these are the things that happen. And so, to just liken it right back there to this boxing, like that's one of the weapons that Tyson Fury has, is being able to land the punches on the ear to disorientate his opponent.
Yeah, and I think that's what got him his victory there. Besides, not that just there, that's what got the knockdowns. But he was the more volume puncher, and the more fighter. He fought a fighter's fight. He outboxed Wilder. Despite with the three knockdowns, the two knockdowns in that 10-7 round. And I think I have the judges' scorecard. I'll put it up there in a minute. I do have it. I did provide that there. And for those that are watching us via YouTube and all the video platforms, I have the scorecard there, and you can see the scorecard. And he was, and you see that he was up 90 to 98 if you tally that before the TKO there, and you see the while the judges were scoring it, and he was winning. He was winning that fight, Fury, because he was the better boxer in my opinion, but the power puncher was Wilder, and those punches to the ears just like you said, knocked his balance. That's why he looked at like, my God, he looks lost. The first knockdown was one to the ear as well. He got back up from that one. He didn't look the same, but he was still throwing haymakers. He managed to get Fury down twice, in a round. And I thought, it was, man, if he had like another minute, I said, man, he's gonna take KO. The referee's gonna stop this at TKO, and Wilder's gonna win this fight. And it just saved, didn't happen that way. But all in all, what a great fight over and all. The question of everyone, I don't like, it's a criticism to certain platform. Actually, not even a platform. It's a sports radio network. On CBS. The morning show in FAN. They didn't even report the right. They didn't went to report the right information. Wilder didn't take an interview, not because he was a sore loser. Because he didn't get interviewed because he went to the hospital. He was bleeding through his eardrum. They went to take him and check a neurologist, and head doctor and all, because that's some serious knockdown like that and bleeding. And he wasn't even cohesive. So, to put bright lights, you want to put bright lights of a camera in front of this man where he might be concussed or busted eardrum, and you don't know what's ringing in his brain or what's going on. They had to take him out to the
On
hospital
top,
immediately. Yeah,
on top of the fact that the stadium is ringing with noise,
yeah,
and so you have a busted eardrum on top of all that noise. Like you see it even like with even smaller venues with raucous arenas. Like if a baby is in there, the parents nowadays 9 times out of 10 they're gonna put protective earmuffs on the baby because the baby's eardrum structurally it cannot take that damage. And so when you have a grown man who just came out of a battle, a war, this was a war,
yes,
and he's bleeding out of his ears, the last thing you want to do is make him more susceptible to damage that isn't even about fighting. Like it's just asking him what's next, this or that. You can always ask him that the same questions that you were going to ask him right after the matchup, you could always ask him a day after, 2 days, 3 days, even a month after. He might even give you better answers between the night that he got the matchup and a month from now. But he had to leave because he had to get that taken care of. His health was primary.
right. And it wasn't because he was a sore loser. It's a health issue, a health and safety issue. Let's face it. We had too many. We have one death is too many, and we have plenty of deaths in the ring, and we can't have this. We want to be entertained. Yes, we like, and we can be. We want to see them fighting and violence, but we also want to make sure they get home to their family safe and sound as much as possible in one piece. So we can't be hypocritical, like, oh, why he didn't give him an interview? Well, we make sure his health is more important first. So with that said, with that there, kudos to Wilder to Wilder for battling, for being a warrior in there, going the 11 rounds. Unfortunately, he got KO. And Fury, salute to him. He won that fight. Made himself known as right now the best heavyweight in boxing currently right now. He won that trilogy fight. We shall all see what's next for him for Fury. What we don't know what's next for him, what's in store for him, and we shall see what goes for him. There's plenty of there. He's gonna keep an eye on the fight between Joshua and Usyk. Usyk is his name.
Use check. Yep.
Usyk. And to see if they would they finally get that fight going. That fight could be put next December, if you ask me. Because the Joshua and Usyk fight will probably be March or May, and maybe December. They could turn it around to December, right before Christmas time. People have money to want to buy gifts. They'll have money to pay for a pay-per-view and so forth, and you could see that happening. So we shall see on that how boxing is. It behooves boxing not to stall it. Give the fans what we need, because UFC's climbing on there and they're on your back and giving us the fight. So hopefully the numbers show the boxing world, the promoters, that we want to see heavyweight action. We loved it. We were excited. We were captivated. We couldn't stop talking about it, and we were looking forward all afternoon to see that fight. So hopefully that's something going forward, that the world of professional boxing sees that and captivates, and don't lose the momentum you built here with this fight. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
I agree with you completely. But what was more so interesting to me was after the fight, I already knew what Tyson Fury was gonna do. I had more questions about what Deontay Wilder was gonna do. I don't know what his path is from here. I don't know. Do you try and go to another? Do you try and take another belt out of another organization per se, so that if Tyson Fury does want to unify all heavyweight titles, that he has to meet you again? Do you retire here? I mean, I don't know. What do is there a class of competition that can help Deontay Wilder get better? That's I don't know. It's like we said, they certain questions got answered, but with these answers comes more questions. And so with Tyson Fury, we know he's going to be patient. He's going to be watching the Anthony Joshua use check fight to see how that goes down. He may defend the title once more in between there just to keep active, just because he's a madman like that and he loves boxing. But yeah, I don't know what goes on for Deontay Wilder, but I'm interested to see. I've always been a fan. I'll continue to be a fan. These two losses do not deter me from being a fan of his, because he just simply lost to a guy that's very, very good, that we see on the way to make history with the titles. And if he wasn't going to be the one to make the history, Deontay was. It's just that boxing stalls so much. So I'm just, I'm interested to see there.
Right, like you said, me personally, I am a Bronze Bomber fan. I'm a big fan of Wilder, Deontay Wilder. Big fan of him. I wanted to see him against Anthony Joshua, but well, for me personally, what's next for Deontay Wilder? Only he could tell how he's recovered from those punches to the ears and that eardrum. If that's something going forward. If he's gonna get hit there in later fights, is it going to affect him? His equilibrium? Is the equilibrium going to be easily unbalanced with a punch to the ear? If that's the case, maybe one more fight, and he's 35 years old. You know what, guy? To me personally, you have nothing to prove. You was a great American heavyweight. You entertain us. With those fights, your power, undeniably powerful heavyweight I've seen in a while, since Tyson, maybe from the American side of boxing. And like, wow, phenomenal. And if he hangs it up, I wouldn't be okay. I'll be okay with it. I'm okay with it. I would love to see him continue fighting, but 35 years old, walk out on your own power. You got knocked down. You have a young daughter, and with a wife that with special needs, young daughter. You know what? They're gonna need you around. Be smart with your money. Be smart. Make it. And just the best of go out there with your health. In my opinion, on that. Now for Fury's case, there have been rumors. Ru- uh, Ruiz already called them out. He already called them out and said, would like to fight. Maybe he'll take that fight in between, sandwich, to see the winner of the Joshua fight. And Usyk, we should see. But, don't fall asleep on Ruiz fighting uh, Fury. Like I always said, styles make fight. And I think Fury's style was going to beat Wilder's fight. I picked that before that fight with when I told Austin my thoughts of it. I said, Fury's gonna win. At the night of the fight, I kind of went with emotions, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take Wilder, because I'm a big, huge fan of him. And I went with emotions instead of logic or what I know about or what I see with my eyes. And I said, you know what, let me change the last second to be different. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to be. I'm like, I wanted to just went by emotions instead of actually what I know about, the little knowledge of boxing that I knew. I should have went with that. I knew Fury was going to win. I didn't think he was going to win on a knockout. That I am surprised. I didn't know the TKO was going to come again. I was surprised with that. I thought he was going to beat him with a unanimous decision, in my opinion. I thought it was going to go the distance, unanimous decision if Fury won, and if Deontay Wilder was going to win. I thought exactly what we had, that 10-7 round. I thought he was gonna get that TKO. I said, man, that's what I thought. I visioned. That was the path I saw Wilder winning. With that said, we'll pull a poll question on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. For you fight fans, enthusiastic, we'll find out what direction do you want to see Wilder, and we'll put out there, and we'll hear your thoughts, and we'll display that next program, or we'll leave it for 2 weeks, and we'll let it marinate, and we'll see. Or Fury, who do you want to see Fury fight next? If you're a boxing fan enthusiast, and also those that are in a podcast listening to us, you could also write your answer to bxjedi76 at gmail.com. That's bx76 at gmail.com. What's your thoughts on who would you like to see Fury fight? What directions he would like to go to? Or what should Deontay Wilder do next? Should he retire? Should he, take some time, of course, recover, the proper recovery, and just fight, come back and fight two more fights, see where he's at, how he looks, and then he makes a decision. That'll be interesting to see what your guys' thoughts with that. With that, Chef Dan, let's get the final 10 count so we can finish the ring, this round of MMA talk tonight. Let me give you your final blows going there.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about, and with the addition of the podcast form, what I want to say is that last week we did say 5 new fights have been announced. The way that the network is going now, we're in a direction where we're going to release little videos here and there to just give you guys our thoughts, and we just more so love for our viewers and the fans to just chime in with us. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to have a back and forth with the fans. It's us three here. We have our own separate of opinions, but as we start to get to know each other more and more, we begin to know what the other is starting to think. So having a fresh new face or a fresh new ideas, just someone to throw a curveball into the mix would be fun. So it's just a plea out there to all the fans, come join in, be more active with us. We'd love for your takes and love for your interaction with us. And yeah, that's my final take there.
Oh, well said there. That was well said, Dan. Yeah, please, if you guys, any panelists that are MMA enthusiastic, boxing enthusiastic, that wants to, come on, let us know. We do come on live Thursdays at 8 most of the time. Tonight it's this that full disclosure is pre-recorded due to the work schedules and obligations, or we are recorded, this is going to go live to the podcast, right to the streams, of course, and all the different platforms. You can listen to us on all these platforms: Anchor FM, Spotify, BeanPod, Reason FM, BrainSpot. All you have to do is search for BX Sports Jedi Network. That's BX Sports Jedi Network. Put it in your search. If you once you find us in those different platforms that you subscribe to or know about, hit the like or subscribe to us on those platforms, and then let us know that you're there, and we'll continue bringing new fresh content. Even if it is not directly on video with YouTube, we'll go and make a separate day, and Chef Dan will do his take, for a couple hours on Spotify or on all the different platforms at the same time, and record his take or what he thoughts, or vice versa. And we'll definitely love to hear. And anyone in the chat, anyone or watching this program that wants to be a panelist, you're more than welcome. Just find me. Let us know. You could hit us up on all our different locations and Twitter. At BX Sports Jedi Network. You can find us at on what's your Twitter handle, Dan?
At Dying Breed 18, DYING BREED 18. You can find me there. We talk all different types of sports. We love the combat sports, but if you want to talk basketball, we're there for basketball. If you want to talk football, we're there for that. You want to talk baseball, the Bronx Sports Jet, I'm more than happy to oblige you. You want to talk hockey, we got that for you. Any and all sports, we're here for it. Wrestling, we got the elbows. Bring them.
Right. That's right. We've covered all the different sports. What's the network? We're Sports Jedi Network. We cover, they have different programs. Tonight is the MMA program that we break down in combat sport. We didn't get into the wrestling because we're running out of time. So we'll get into AEW. They're now with the playoffs, they moved into Saturday night, and for the time being, Saturday Night Dynamite and on Austin from the program will be live in 2 weeks on the 23rd in Orlando. He will be live in person in the UFC arena UCF Arena, watching AEW live. So he'll give us an update and tell us about that card. And also, and we also do the Return of the Knicks basketball podcast, and also the watch along. We'll break down live watch along on games as well. The Major League Baseball with the Yankees watch along. Right now, the season has come to a conclusion. We're going to have the Yankee roundtable discussion on the State of the Union Yankees, where they go next. We'll have a panel of guests, 4 or 5 of us, or maybe 3, depending on how many want to join to talk about the Yankees. And also we got the basketball as well, like you said. Not just the Return of the Knicks. We'll do part of the Return of the Knicks. We'll be talking about the NBA in total. We won't just stop on one team. We'll talk about the whole league and the ins and outs around the league as well. And we got all this different types of football is in full effect. Although we want to talk about the local teams. If you're a New Yorker, and we'll talk about them. What's the upside and right now. And all around the league, different types of football programs. But we cover every different sport as much as possible. But we definitely want to thank you for your participation and your support. Your support is what makes this channel keeps going and allows us to continue to promote and want to talk about this from a fan to a fan. And thank you guys, because I remember I started with just minimum subscribers, and now we're at 1.29 subscribers because of you guys in less than 4 months, not even 4 months. And it keeps growing day by day, and because we got great guys here that put the work in, that we give you our opinions, and try to be as factual as possible. And when we know it's not facts, then we know we don't mind being corrected. That's the way. That's wisdom. If you know someone who's going to correct you, you can be wise and say, what, I was right. I was wrong. You know what, you're right. That was the wrong information for me. So I appreciate you, Dan. I appreciate everyone listening and taking the time to come on the program. And guys, hit that like and subscribe if you're on the video platforms with us, as well as the Podbean and all the different podcasts. Hit that like and subscribe. Let them know you like what the program, we like what's going on. And if you don't, also let us know what we could do to make it better, to make your experience and your listening better, because that's what we're here. We want to make sure that you guys gave us your time, your valuable time, and we appreciate you giving us your valuable time. And we want to make sure that you're entertained and also get to know something, or vice versa. We want to get to learn too. We don't know everything either, so we would like to learn from you guys. So we want to hear feedback from you guys. But this is Bronx Sports Jedi Network saying thank you. Bronx Sports Jedi saying thank you. Chef Dan says thank you. You guys have a blessed night, and we'll see you on the next time. And man, I can't wait to talk with you, and may the sports be with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are